kill myself. I try that. All right, guys. You want to, just so I can have your undivided attention?
Yeah.
John?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Kill that thing. I feel
Top
like I'm being
left-hand corner.
overpowered by Johnny Cash. I can't handle the competition. All right, guys. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. It means a lot to me. I love arm wrestling so much, and I'm thrilled to get to come to Australia and to share what I know with you guys. So, I'm very honored and thankful. So.
Thank you, mate.
Anyways. So let me share with you, at first we'll talk about just the general flow. I'll talk for a bit, we'll get on the table, we'll pull, talk, pull, and at any point, really, if you guys have questions, we can switch the flow of this seminar and we'll hit that. I know the seminar is kind of scheduled for around 4 hours, but really, I think we're having a barbecue after. I'll pull until I can't lift my arms anymore. That's what I like to do. So I'll definitely try and give you what you came for. So, Devona Larrata, I'm 38 years old. Talk about my arm wrestling history. When I was a kid, I remember going down to my parents' library and looking at the books, and my brother and my cousin, they'd be looking at all these different books, and all I looked at was Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'd be like, man, these guys are so strong. And I've always loved strength. I've loved strength in all its capacities. I just remember as a kid just always wanting to be like my dad because my dad was strong. I didn't see my dad as anything else. I just thought he was stronger than me. But anyway, so I've always been attracted to strength. My grandmother would come over, and she was an arm wrestler. And I would hook up with her. And from a young age, I knew that was a feeling that I enjoyed. That feeling of tension, that feeling of pressure, that feeling of, being able to put my whole body into something. And it's always kind of been a central focus in my life, to chase that feeling. And I was never the strongest. I remember in public school going through all of my friends on the table. I was never the strongest guy. I was middle of the pack. High school came around. I got a little bit stronger, and then I met my first arm wrestler after high school, and it blew me away. I was floored how this 160-pound dude was killing me, and I was a 200-pound, 17, 18-year-old kid right off the farm. I knew I was strong, and I could do nothing with this guy, not anything. And I knew at that point that he needed to teach me. And I harassed him, and finally he showed me. And I remember when I was a kid, 17, 18 years old, being like, what you're teaching me doesn't make any sense to me, and it's wrong. And I was trying to tell him what I knew about arm wrestling. And I thought it was just about coming inside, and I felt strong there, And what he told me was arm wrestling is not about where you're strong. It's about where the other guy is weak. And that's really an overriding principle in arm wrestling. Anyways, so for about 2 months I was his punching bag. And I never got anything on him. He could always beat me. But then I went to the bar one night, and I used the techniques that he showed me. And I realized that it was right. And so obviously I recognized at that point that arm wrestling was an art, and there was a lot of technique involved. And so I focused on that. Anyways, so I still love arm wrestling like crazy. I've been competing now for 20 years. Arm wrestling to me now is it's what I do in my off time. Like I have my family, I have my work, and there's arm wrestling. The way I view arm wrestling in the world is there's competitive arm wrestling and there's fun arm wrestling. Fun arm wrestling with the club, practice, it's almost a lifestyle, right? So I view it a few different ways. Anyway, so that's a little bit about me. I think the first thing we do is we'll get on the table, we'll stretch out for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to start talking about arm wrestling technique. Yeah?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so let's get warmed up. Yeah, that's the way. The way I like to warm up is no movement. I don't know how you guys warm up, but yeah, here, let me show you. Let me steal a guy. Okay. Now, when I warm up in arm wrestling, there we go. Perfect. Okay. When you arm wrestle, so much of arm wrestling is about always having good form. Okay. It's the same thing with any exercise. Okay. Bench press, clean and jerk, whatever. You have to do it with perfect form. Otherwise, you're going to get hurt. Do anything with poor mechanics, and you're setting yourself up for failure. Where do you have the best form and best mechanics? Center of the table. Center of the table, that is arm wrestling. If you can do something here, you can do it anywhere else. Okay. You want to maintain good angles. Up, cut, roll. Right. These angles, I'll talk about them all day. Okay. These angles are probably the three most vital angles in arm wrestling. Arm inside the body. Okay, there's others. Supination, kickback. We'll get into those. But always kind of have positive control over these angles. Right. So when I set up, when we're warming up, right, my arm is relatively high angle. My wrist is a little bit in, and I have some pressure on my rotator, my pronation. And here we are. This is my warm-up, right here. Okay? If we want to move a little bit, just a little bit of up pressure, a little bit of up, good. That's it. You don't have to go any harder than that when you're warming up. Okay, we're warming up right now. This is how I'm going to use my muscles in the match. Okay? Locking. If I want to warm up a little bit inside, a little bit my inside game, just a little bit. There we go. Good. Okay? Switch. Next arm. Yeah, flip it. Same thing. Nice and easy. Open up the spine a bit, you know, get everything feeling good. But center of the table. There is no need, you see so much of this, you know, crazy stuff with the wrist.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of people do it, and if it works for you, I mean, do it. If it feels good, do it, but don't do it just because you've seen somebody else do it. Okay, for me, you know, with the 20 plus years or whatever that I've been pulling, I'm a little bit arthritic, you know what I mean? And all that extra movement is not really hitting the things that I really need warmed up. What I really need warmed up is just the muscles, right? And the way I'm going to use them, which is in an isometric negative fashion, right? Okay, all right. I'll start talking a little bit. Okay, so arm wrestling. Arm wrestling to me is like a tree, okay, and it has branches, okay? And the first division point is inside or outside, okay? Inside meaning all techniques that attack a person's rotation. There's two ways that people are weak, generally, okay? The first way is to make your palm be seen, right? If I am going to get weaker, it's here, right? You're exposing an angle. So that for the other person is an inside style. They have exposed my palm, that's inside pulling. The other main branch is outside, okay? That's pulling into my fingertips. That's the other main way that people are weak. And in combination, right? These things are always used in combination, right? And that's why you got lots of branches in the tree. But what we'll focus on first is outside pulling, okay? Now, the first thing we'll talk about with arm wrestling technique is the most important thing about arm wrestling is that you're strong, right? You gotta be strong. Very simple. You have to be strong in your components. What is the main three components of arm wrestling strength? Rising, cupping, and rolling. These are the main three strengths. So you have to be strong there. And I see you guys got tons of tools here. Do you guys want me to skip this part? You guys want me to go over it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So when I talk about rising first, okay, rising, what rising means to me is many things. Rising is a creative strength, Okay, what that means is it adds potential to this destruction that's going to come later. Okay, when you talk about rising, you're going into a person's fingers. Okay, rising is extending your opponent. Okay, getting him farther away from his body. Rising makes you able to regrip easier because it means that they are holding onto you and you have the ability to open your hand. Okay? Rising is a technical strength. Rising only works if the other person chooses to hold on to you. Rising comes in many forms. Rising comes in a post. There's rising. Rising comes through the back of your hand when you're in a top roll, coming back out of it. Rising can be in a defensive hooked position, coming straight up. Many forms of rising, okay? But to me, rising is what sets up all good arm wrestling technique, okay? Rising allows you to use more musculature than your opponent. Because if you choose to hold on to rising, you cannot start to rise yourself. It's very hard to do. You might be able to hit out of it somehow in some funky manner, or in the straps there's an opportunity for it, but without the straps, very difficult to rise second. Okay? You must rise first. Okay, so, but it's a mega important strength. So the main normal part of rising, there's lots of different reps. I'm just going to use my belt here because it's real simple. I use martial art belt for the majority of the training that I do. Lots of wraps you can do. You can wrap it like that, right? You can wrap it like this is a good one. You want to incorporate your thumb with a lot of different ways that you rise because your thumb is a big part of rising. You can wrap it like this. This is rising. You can just grab it around here. You can grab it around here. And all it is the action of moving your knuckle upwards, okay? The root of it comes through the bicep, okay? Different style. I'm going to jump around a bit, guys, so at any point, if you feel like I've skipped over something or you want clarification, please stop me. When training rising, overall, when I train for arm wrestling, if I have good table time, most of the training that I'm going to do in the gym is rehabilitative. Okay? If I'm not getting sufficient table practice, then I will move into more strengthening phases in the gym of my specifics. Okay? Now, what do those different things look like? When I train for specific strength, like if I want to really tax my ability to functionally rise on the table, it's done in a negative, okay? And that's going to be for every single specific, every single training that I ever talk about. If I want to really nail my stuff, it's in a negative. So, because that is arm wrestling strength, guys, right? Like if you can hold 10, or if you can move 10, hold 13, you can budge 17. You know what I mean? That's just the way the body works. So it's the same thing in your rise. So what I'll do is, if I wanted to be real good, I'll do it right on a table. So I could set up my table, right? Get whatever one of those grips that I showed you, attach this to a pulley, right? Lock up, so that means have a tight angle, right? So my lock is already in. I'm not going to try and drive from a kind of lower position for the most part. If I'm training my top strength, I'm going to lock that thing as tight as I can, and I'm going to drive up into it. And what's going to happen is if that weight moves up a millimeter, if it moves up 1 millimeter, that is a successful lift. And that is the hardest training that I'll ever do for my rise, is a 1 rep movement. Now, if it's rehabilitative, I'm going to do lots and lots of reps, okay, with movement, because that's going to stimulate blood flow, and that's going to stimulate healing. And that can be done with anything, you know. Very simple. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take weight. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit more than this. But I might start here if I'm real busted up. You know, I'm going to take my whatever kind of grip I want to work with that day. All right, very easy, and I'm just going to pound out reps, okay? And if I'm doing rehab, I'll do 50 to 100. 50 to 100, tack on a little bit more weight, 50 to 100, 50 to 100. And I will do that, for 1,000 reps, or more, depending. Like I'll be watching a movie and I'll just pound out tons of blood into my rising component, And what it's going to do is it's just going to heal. I'll kind of sidetrack to some interesting stuff that I heard about, the way the body heals, etc. The blood heals. Blood is what makes you healthy. Blood is what is gonna it is what is doing the magic to your body. If your blood feels good, you fed yourself, you need to bring that blood to your tissues. The thing is the tissues, the connective tissues, they got terrible blood flow. If you want to heal your connective tissue, you need high reps. You cannot do it with heavy stuff. The study I'm talking about was a study that they did with powerlifters versus marathoners and connective tissue, how much they had. Found out that the marathoners had better connective tissue. And it's reps. It's because they get that constant bathing. Anyways, when you're looking at rehab, it's a great style. So, rising. So you have to think that is going to be something you're going to work on a lot. Next one, cupping. Right? Cupping is your ace. Cupping is the ace of arm wrestling. It is what is going to kill a guy. There's more muscle in your forearm to bend your wrist down than there is to do anything else. Your cup, really, you got your rolling thunders. You got there's different ways to set up your cup. You can cup high or low. I think you guys have probably seen that video that I've got on the internet where you can set up with a string.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I won't touch into that too much. And what does cup affect? Cup affects rotation, right? Anyways, you can be hard in all these components. I want to break into a little bit the counters and soft counters. You guys know about soft counters in arm wrestling, like the defensive hook.
We've all seen the video, but none of us understand.
Okay. All right. So, like I was saying earlier, the most important thing about arm wrestling is to be strong, right? So, because if you are strong, then you dictate technique, okay? If you are stronger than the person in your components, that means when we come to the table, okay, come on up, Jared. If I straight up, like if you're trying to do the fundamentals of arm wrestling, high, cup, roll, right? That's initially, if you could take a person's hand like that, everything is easier. Elbow inside the body, you have all your bases covered, okay? If you have more than a person in that, okay, guess what? They have to adjust, or else they're going to lose. Major principle in arm wrestling: never fight a losing battle, okay? So that means if I'm stronger than you, okay, and we just start off with the idea that we're going to do fundamental arm wrestling, right? Both of us doing fundamental arm wrestling, okay? Both guys coming up, high, cup, shoulder inside with rotation. The guy who's stronger, the other guy has to adjust, otherwise he's losing, right? Simple concept. That guy can win still. He can totally win if he's a better arm wrestler and the strength isn't too, out of proportion. Right? And the way he's going to win is by not fighting a losing battle, right? And the way you don't fight a losing battle is you have to give something up. The way I like to look at it is the forearm, and the hand, you can do so many different things with it. Like, and they're contradictory, right? Like if I wanted to be going full out with a rise, well then if I wanted to, be sinking, right, it's totally contradictory, right? So you have to spread your power around, unless you're, really trying to hit one way or the other, but that's counterable too. Anyways, so a soft counter is you're going to give something up in order to secure some hard spot. When I say hard spot, it's to stop, right? To stop the match somehow. And the way I like to start people to understand this process is with the defensive hook. It's probably one of the easier ones to kind of wrap your mind around. I think it's this table because it's a little bit more solid. Okay, come on up, Andrew. Okay, so what we're going to say is we come to the table, and the first time, you're just going to straight up, you're just going to beat me, okay? All right? Just stay high up, cup your wrist, keep your rotation, keep your body nice and together, go to the side. Ready? Yeah, exactly, right? Let's do it again, same thing. ready, go, boom, right? Okay, and what's happening there is, right, I'm staying on my pronation, okay? I'm staying on my cup, I'm staying inside my body, and nothing's changing, right? And he's just straight up stronger, and that's the end of the story. Okay, so, do not fight a losing battle, right? That should be what I'm thinking right now. And the losing battle is me realizing that he's got too much hand for me, okay? When you add up the sum of his hand, and when you talk about just basic sum of the hand, it's two things. It's pronation, and it's cup. Okay, the whole rise and stuff like that, that's more like positioning and, you know, where you've managed to get your advantages beforehand. But when you talk about just the bulk of the hand and its strength, the ability to cup and the ability to pronate is what really is the real value of what's going on here. So when I sense he's got too much for me, I need to get a stop. The way most guys do it is they give away their rotation in trade for, hopefully, cup. Okay, that's what I'm going to give up. Okay, so what's happening? Okay, I'm switching. Okay, we're going to go really slow. Okay, now I'm right now. I've got, you know, I'm going to say an 8 in my pronator and an 8 in my cup. Okay, so that means I'm going pretty hard in both of them. All right, and what I'm going to do, as soon as he starts to do his fundamental, you know, high, cup, and roll, I'm going to realize it's too much for me. It's too hard, right? He's too strong, and I'm going to start to go into a 10 in my cup, okay, like just as hard as I can, and I'm gonna start my retreat with my pronation, okay, and the retreat can be a few different ways, okay. There can be a few different ways that you can retreat. You can retreat really hard, or you can retreat kind of softly. All right, a hard retreat, okay. A hard retreat is going to be, I am going to go faster than what he's taking me, okay, faster, okay. So don't move, ready, go, okay, real slow. I'm actually going to, you see how I kind of leaned in on it, okay, how I actually supinated actively, okay. I didn't just let my pronation go, I actually shot in, okay. And I shot in the hopes that he's going to continue to take with his wrist, okay? The reason why it's a soft counter is because he's doing some things wrong as well, okay? When he bends his wrist, you'll see, okay, here we are. Because he has a bent wrist, I can continue to use the top of my hand, the middle of my hand, and the bottom of my hand in terms of cupping, right? I can cup all this in, okay? And I have shoulder commitment. I'm trying to find his bicep, right? That's the goal of inside pulling. Find a person's bicep through their rotation. Right? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to turn that hand, right? Right? And I'm trying to protect my bicep once we get inside by committing my shoulder, right? Don't move, ready, go. He's got too much at the top for my hand. I switch, and there I am. The softer version of this, which is great as well, is a slower retreat. And that's basically just going kind of soft in a component and letting him pull you if he so chooses, okay? So, don't move, ready, go, okay? And you'll see that I didn't really actively, you know, force it, okay? I just kind of let it settle, okay? And both of them have their advantages, and we'll get to why, you know, the one is good or not later. So that is a soft counter of that component. Now, to understand what a soft counter is, you kind of have to understand what a hard counter is as well. Okay? So, 3 big rules of arm wrestling. I'll keep hitting on them. First rule: be strong. Right? Be strong. That dictates all technique. Okay? The second one is don't fight a losing battle. Right? That's what I did in my soft counter. Right? I'm losing. I have to find a hard spot. I give something away. Okay? I give away my rotation to get my stop. Okay? Don't fight a losing battle. I did not fight a losing battle. I gave it away, right? I did my retreat, and I got to stop, right? That's a soft counter. What is a hard counter? Hard counter, the rule that the way I like to put it, and it's not super clean, is, don't take what's being given to you. You already own it, okay? Right? I'm giving Andrew my pronation. I'm giving it to him. As I feel the pronation leaving his grip, right? How do I know the pronation is leaving his grip? Because I no longer feel pressure in my fingers, right? He's going to stop. I'm not going to feel anything in my fingers. I'm going to feel him coming into my arm. As soon as I feel that, and even almost before, I'm going to start to give him some kickback, okay? All right, so here we go. Don't move, ready, go. Right there, okay? Right. What it does is just cuts off the whole movement, okay? Now that's a hard counter, okay? Now these soft and hard counters can be used for any style of arm wrestling. And that is how I arm wrestle. I arm wrestle with, first off, I want to be strong. Next off is I don't fight a losing battle. And next off is I don't take what's being given to me for free, okay? If you can follow those principles in all the arm wrestling that you do, I think you'll be a fabulous arm wrestler. And these systems fall into all styles, okay? It doesn't matter whether you're a hooker, a presser, a flopper, a king's mover. It does not matter. They all follow these principles. So, I mean, the real art is to get good at this flow, okay? The real art is to learn what pressures you can feel and how the pressures relate. Yeah, okay, so why don't we hit the tables for a bit, okay, and I'll kind of come around and I'll kind of, poke around a bit. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. The only time you can open up is if you're pulling outside. Then it's not a big deal. But as soon as you start to do any kind of inside, okay, like this pressure is bad news, real bad news, right? But this pressure is great until you can be completely behind it. Okay, then you can push. Yeah. But you want to connect. Just think about getting it inside your body. As soon as you're out here, just think. Get your head back to the table. One small point, and then I'm going to touch on a concept. Okay. The first small point is just something that I see out in with you guys pulling. I know there's some newer pullers. Okay. I'm going to elaborate on side pressure and the cup. Okay. What is side pressure? Okay. People talk about side pressure in arm wrestling. What side pressure is to me is its internal rotation, okay? It's this, okay? Right? Going to the side, okay? That machine, if done incorrectly, okay, can train your side pressure. If you train it properly, you can train your press, okay? Side pressure is at the end of any strong arm wrestling movement, right? Even if you're using your bicep hooked in, at the end of all this drive, comes a little bit of internal rotation, and that's fine, and that's great, and that's a huge part of arm wrestling. It's when you do it, unnecessarily and with poor form that things get really dangerous, okay? You always want to stay close to your arm when you're trying to pin, okay? You want to keep your hip generally in contact with the table for all inside pulling styles, okay? When you are pulling outside, that means into a person's fingers, okay? It's got a bicep root, okay? That means most of the drive is coming from your ability to hammer curl or something like that. And it doesn't really, like I can hammer curl the same way out here as I can here. I can almost do it better here, you know what I mean? So you don't really need that same connection, although you want it, okay? But as soon as I do any kind of inside pulling style, okay, I need to be close, okay? I need it. If I'm out here trying to do any kind of internal stabilization finish, the danger for the move will go higher and higher and higher the further my elbow is away from my body and the more my elbow is open. If I try to do any kind of inside finish this way, very dangerous. Very dangerous. So always stay connected for inside pulling styles. When I think of my cup, okay, what is the root of the cup? Like, you know how I said for all outside styles, the root is the bicep. For inside pulling styles, the root is the connection of your elbow to your body, right? When you think about what that looks like, you know, you think about doing like bodybuilder gym style, like, you know, rows, okay? You know, an arm wrestling connection, an arm wrestling row, you know, through your wrist, through your cup, through your connection, it is done very similarly, but inside your body, right? Like, as arm wrestlers, one of the first things that I look at when I meet a guy, I'm like, let's check his flexibility, right? And he put his elbows together. A lot of like the guys who are really strong, really big dudes, they're like, how are you doing that? you know, the guys are all, but you know what they're losing in flexibility, they're gaining in strength. But you know, that's something that you want. You want to be like, you know, able to tuck it right across, right? Because the more you can get tight, right, the more you're pulling to your center. What you can control out here, okay, you can control better here, you can control better here, and it's your body that you can control better than anything. You always want to bring the match to your center. Bring the match to your body, right? So your cup's root, okay, is to bring the match inside your body, okay? You always want to bring the match close to you. That is the goal of the hook. That is the goal of bending your wrist in like this, to make you get close, bring it close to you, okay? The pin is secondary. The more you can forget about the pin in arm wrestling, I'll tell a story, okay? The first time I pulled John Brzenk, who many of you guys know, yeah, John Brzenk, probably the most legendary arm wrestling that there has been. Fabulous technician, fabulous arm wrestler. 2004, I arm wrestled him, and I walked away from the match, you know, learning a lot of things just by, you know, I think the competition is always going to be your best teacher. So when I pulled him the first match, you know, the teacher was, Devon, you're not very strong, you know, and I knew I just had to get a lot stronger because it looked something like this, you know. But the next match in 2004, he was like, I think he kind of let the hook settle, okay? So we went into the hook, and we had a good match. I don't know, some of you might have seen it. Good match. Lasted, you know, almost a minute. And what I did in that match, what John did right and what I did wrong. What I did wrong is I saw the pin line, okay? What John did right is he focused on extension and hand control, okay? The quicker you can forget about the pin line in arm wrestling, the better a technician you will be. The pin in arm wrestling happens all by itself. You do everything else right, the pin happens. You connect, you extend, and you have good angles. And everything is easy. Everything just happens. I forgot the other thing I wanted to talk about. Talked about the cup root. Yes, okay. All right. So does anybody have any questions about that?
So side pressure will not train for the
Right.
much?
Exactly. So now, when I started arm wrestling, okay, and I viewed the sport, like I thought about arm wrestling is different very much now than it was when I was coming up. When I was coming up, it was a time before the internet. And the knowledge that's out there now, I mean, is a lot different. You have tons of videos, everything. When I came up, I really didn't have a lot. And the way I viewed arm wrestling was, okay, what's happening? Starting in the middle here, and we're going to the side, okay? So, and so I focused a lot on side pressure. And I think a lot of guys did. Like, I think when you look at like the bulk, like the majority of the sport now as opposed to like 25, 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, you saw a lot of machines like that. You know, you saw a lot of like the great arm wrestlers training side pressure. Like I bought a table, training table off a former Canadian champion called Leanne Dufresne, and looks a lot like a table like this, okay, and has a pulley system here, okay, it's because she was training this, and most people were, and many people still are. Side pressure lead, okay. The problem is with side pressure is that the part that will fail, okay, is not everybody can benefit potentially, especially at the beginning, from a little bit of side pressure training. But I would not even tell a new guy to do it. I wouldn't. Side pressure is coming from the muscles in your body, but it transfers, okay? It transfers through this bone and through the ligaments of your elbow. Then it travels up this bone and it ends up in your hand, okay? And then the other person can feel it. But the limiting factor is never the muscles in your body. Never is, okay? It's always, for most people, okay, I mean, amateurs may break their bone, but what's going to happen is, like, 3 or 4 year arm wrestlers, guys who've been pulling a while, like strong enough to not break their bone, but strong enough to get some good force going, they're going to blow their ligaments. Okay, they're going to blow the connective tissue in their elbows. I've done it many times. Okay, happens to all arm wrestlers who are hardcore. If you're a hardcore arm wrestler, you will at some point in your career have elbow issues. Okay, and a big part of the sport is managing that. Okay. But so what I'm trying to say is by training it, you're training false mechanics, okay? Because side pressure happens at the end of the movement, okay? So that means you start off either pulling up or connecting, right? Inside or outside, okay? And at the end of the movement, after I'm like tapped out from what I can do muscularly, I can add a little bit of bone and connective tissue. Okay, and the same thing, if I'm coming in, I'm cupping down and I'm connecting as hard as I can, and at the end of the movement, I can add a little bit. And that way, it's proper mechanics, okay? So I don't need to train my side pressure. I just train my fundamentals, and I can add it at the end as I choose, And plus, whenever you arm wrestle, you're using a ton of it, whether you want to or not, okay? Every time we're on the table, okay, you're getting stability that way, and it's more than enough. It's more than enough. If you start to focus on it, like I have many times throughout my career, every 2 or 3 years I'm like, oh, Devin, maybe you're wrong about that side pressure thing. Maybe you need to train it again. And I'll hit it for a while, and I'll do it for, a couple weeks, and then I hurt my elbow. Happens every time. And I'll probably be due in about 2 years or 3, and I'll do it again, I'll hurt my elbow. So I'll tell you, don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm going to tell you what to do and substitute for it, okay? So many things feel like side pressure, right? Whenever I have too much for you, whenever you have too much for your opponent, they're going to be like, oh, he was going to the side. He might not have been. You just got overwhelmed, and you had to throw in your own side pressure, so you thought he was matching you. The supination of the hand, supination, right? It's a good way to force, to aid in forcing a hook, which we'll get into later. But this motion I have found most beneficial in healing my side pressure, healing my elbow, right? Because you will get lots of injuries, okay, as time goes on. If you're retarded like I am, right? But a great healer is supination training, right? So this, okay, just the ability to see your palm, okay. Because no, you don't want to see your palm, okay, if the guy is forcing you to do it, but sometimes seeing your palm is vital, okay? You can use techniques where you do force that direction, okay? And it is a subtle difference between, is that side pressure? Well, yes, there is side pressure involved, but it's the supination that is really doing the work. And supination, muscularly, all makes sense. Your body's designed to supinate to some degree, okay? But side pressure, that's what your body's not really, you can do it, but, I don't think that there's muscles really in place to, get massively stronger at side pressure. Yeah. That kind of answer your question? Yep. Okay, so we're going to talk about another kind of concept in arm wrestling. And that concept is that you want to be close to somebody to do the most damage to them. There's a few, the way I look at arm wrestling, I think about it all the time, and I try to relate it through all aspects of my life, Like anything that I see on the table, I'm like, oh, that's just like in life. Like for example, the top roll, outside arm wrestling, okay? Make the person come to you. Make them chase you. It's just like in life, right? Like if you are, trying to have a relationship with somebody and you want the power, You make them come to you, right? We play this little game. Like, hey Jared, come here for a second. See that he came to me. Right? I have the power right there. Anyways, okay, so that's what you want, right? You want people to come to you, right? You want people to come to you. That's outside arm wrestling theory, okay? But where can you hurt the person the most is when you're intimately close to them, right? If I try and harass some stranger that I don't know, okay, they can brush me off very easily. But the closer I can get to somebody, the more I can really damage them, okay? And it's the same thing in arm wrestling, okay? So what does that mean? What does that mean? Okay, the way I look at arm wrestling is it's like a hierarchy of technique, okay? So, like the most technically sound thing is the post, okay? The post, okay, there's no real counter to it. There really isn't, okay? And that's why I always say that that is what determines all arm wrestling technique, all arm wrestling flow, is whoever has the stronger post can kind of determine, at least technically, the flow of the match. They might not win. It has nothing to do with winning or losing. But if they have a stronger post, they at least get to dictate what happens in the match. The other person is adjusting to them. But that doesn't mean stick with the post. That means you drop down and get intimately close to them. Because the way you can do the most damage is by being as close to them as possible. Right? It's almost like a hill, okay? With the post being on the top, okay? This is outside technique, okay? So it'd be like, you know, so post, you could have like the highest top roll you could imagine. You do a low hand top roll, you know, and somewhere it just trickled down to where at the end you were doing some full commitment king's move arm wrestling thing, okay? Inside arm wrestling, you have like a really high hook, like some real high up thing, you know, where you switch to like a dragging style hook, to where you were like pressing, to at the bottom, like at the full like outside region of arm wrestling, is you'd have like a flop wrist press. And I'm not trying to devalue any of these techniques, okay? I'm just trying to tell you where I think they fit in and where to that arm wrestling pyramid. So, what I mean by being intimately close to somebody is, so I start off my game, okay, at posting, okay, trying to make the person come to me, right? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Right? So that's where I'm starting off my game, right? But then the guy realizes, okay, he says, all right, he's got too much hand for me, okay? If I stay up there with him, he's just going to beat me. I don't want to fight a losing battle, right? So he starts to switch his technique, okay? He starts to make adjustments, okay? And he's like, okay, I'm not going to be up there with him. I'm gonna press him, okay? I'm going to come in and I'm going to press him right off the bat. Because a press is a fabulous counter to a post, okay? Fabulous counter. If I'm like all up here, and he decides he's going to just drill me into a press, if I stay thinking I'm just going to drive through him with my bicep, it's going to look something like boom, you know, I'm going to get flattened, right? So I have to become close to him. I have to use my technical superiority and drop my technique. So I'm just above him, okay? Now I can choose, I have choices, right? But the main choice you're going to do, like the first one, is just about angle, okay? Remember how I said that the post, this high up angle, is what everything flows off of, all right? And the reason why, I'll have Rory this time, okay? The reason why is it's this whole ridge, okay? This whole ridge, this whole finger line. There's two like kind of rising ridges that you know, talk about technique, okay? This one, this line, and this line, okay? And this one is I'd say almost more important once the person decides to hold on to you. Okay, it's very, very important. Okay, and what happens is you're switching from a high hand top roll to a low hand top roll. Okay, and this is like the pivot point. Okay, rising. Okay, all this is all rising strength. Okay, and then the guy can switch and be like, no, I'm going to cup, right? And then he's going to come inside to his hand, right? Okay, and at the beginning when we come up and we're deciding who the boss is, it's so much to do with these two ridges. Okay. Right? When we're coming up, we're like, okay, all right, I want you to hold on to me, okay? I know you probably never would, but I want him to hold on to me a bit. So say he falls for it, okay? All right? Go ahead and set up for a press, right? There. Good, okay? Right? And say I haven't changed my game, and I'm still all up high, okay? And really, I'm in the wrong spot. I'm in the wrong spot. I really need to switch to a lower hand style, okay? To become intimately close to him, where the pressure is, okay? I don't want him to get underneath me somehow. I want to drop down to his level. If he decides to come back up, I can very quickly elevate my game once again and just maintain that just slight height advantage over him. More about that, okay? That rising ridge, okay? You see when our hands come together, okay? All right, fair grip, right? Real fair grip, even, okay? Now just open up again, okay? You see where this ridge intersects his hand, okay? That's a fair grip, okay? Now, nobody wants fair grip, right? Does anybody here want fair grip? Yeah, nobody wants that. That's garbage. Okay, so you're always trying to increase your leverage, right? So at the beginning, it's all about the top, right? It's all about making him hold on to you, get the top of your hand elevated, get these regrips with your fingers, right? Always be walking up, get your finger as high up as you can in their hand, okay? Obviously not covering their knuckle because that's cheating. But you know, you're going that way, right? You're always trying to climb your fingers, okay? Until they start to actually hold on to you, right? Until they make that drop in technique, okay? That adjustment, okay? And that's where you have to drop your technique, okay? And one of the way you do it is switching from a high angle to a lower angle, okay? And people talk about it called low hand top roll. People have probably heard about this. Okay, now the low hand top roll is really just a balancing act, okay? Low hand top roll balancing act is, again, you know how we talked about at the beginning with the defensive hook. You know, you can give it away hard, okay, or you can kind of float it in, okay? All right, same thing with the low hand top roll, okay? All right, I can give it away hard, okay, or I can kind of float it in depending on what he's doing, okay? All right, the floating method always is going to require a little bit more technique and a little bit more experience, okay? Going hard, okay, can simplify things. Now, it's about the intersection, right? It's about where this ridge intersects his hand now, okay? If I'm arm wrestling like this, okay, like I said, fair grip, okay? But when I'm pronating, when I'm trying to bend his wrist back, when I'm doing an outside technique trying to get into his fingers, okay, wrist bending back, okay, the best thing I can do, open up your hand, is have this you know, the best way to describe it, you know, interaction point, right? Because this is interacting heavily with his wrist. My pronation is interacting very heavily with his wrist when I'm rolling and he's cupping, okay? The best thing I can do is have it higher up, right? If I could arm wrestle him like this, it would be fantastic, right? This would be exactly what I would want every time, okay? But obviously that's not going to be always attainable. But what is going to be attainable is to elevate it slightly, okay, in some capacity, okay? Now the reason you do a lower hand is because as soon as he starts to do an inside game, right, he's focusing on getting his cup in, right? And the process of getting his cup in, generally, okay, is a soft counter, okay? He generally is not fighting with all the fundamentals of arm wrestling. He's switching, he's giving up his rotation. That means I'm not feeling it all up here anymore. It's going to start to come down, okay? So I need to raise, with a higher priority, the bottom of my hand, okay? And that's when I talk about the dropping of technique, okay? Because, you know, higher technique is raising the top of your hand, okay? But as he changes his game, I need to stay with him intimately so I can do the most damage, okay? So I need to raise the bottom of my hand. People talk about a low hand top roll, and I see a lot of people say, oh yeah, when I do a low hand top roll, I lower my hand. Well, that's exactly the opposite thing of what you want to do. You fought hard to get the top of your hand high, okay? What I want to do is I want to raise the bottom of my hand and keep what I have up top. Now I want to raise that other part because I just want to eventually be arm wrestling him by his fingertips. This is where I'm going, right? So when we're pulling, okay, if he's decided he's going to press, okay, right away, I'm getting the bottom of my hand up, okay? Right? You see that? How I'm really trying to put the pressure on his pinky, okay? And that's why the post is kind of an imaginary strength, because it never really is about your post. It's about what the post gets you, right? It controls the technique, okay, and it makes the person have to adjust. And from that adjustment is where it really pays dividends. So when you are in control of a match, instead of just always thinking about kickback, also think about dropping your hand, okay? And getting, it's not dropping your hand, sorry, elevating the base of your hand, okay? Do you want me to show you how to kind of elevate it? It's real slow. Okay. There's two main regrips in arm wrestling, okay? You can call it whatever you want. I call it a running regrip and an inside regrip, okay? Running because you're running away, outside, you know, outside regripping, okay? Outside regripping, okay? Really, so ready, go, bang, okay? Simple thing. You want to get your fingers higher, okay? So the first thing I do is I make sure that I'm going to be able to move my hand and he's not, okay? The way you do that is through post, okay? Get the pressure into the fingers, right? I did my move, bang, okay? I realize I'm not going to pin him. I put the pressure in the fingers, okay? Straight up rise, okay? Open up my hand. Now I'm going to exaggerate the movements, okay? The better you get, the smaller they get, right? So I do my move, bang, I get stopped, okay? Pressure in the fingers, okay? And now elbow comes forward slightly, okay? And you do a slight supination, okay? Like this. And then you reclose, reconnect, okay? So here we go again. Don't move, ready, go, bang, okay? Doesn't quite work, okay? Elbow comes forward, get on the fingers, slight supination, reclose, elbow comes forward, reconnect, okay? Why don't we just work on that and we'll
can we do those setups and
yeah.
that for a while?
Yeah.
Ready.
All right, let me, there's some things that I've seen.
It's just
Okay, so what this movement feels like, I think everybody is good with the top roll, like with the initial surge, right? With the initial, you know, getting your wrist bent, pronating out, and you're going to turn a guy's hand over, right? It's at this point that you have to supinate, right? So what it feels like is it feels like this, like when you just look at me, it's like that, right? That's what you're doing, just like this, right? Right? You're keeping pressure with your bicep. That's why it's coming up, okay? You're tucking your arm inside your body, which is like this, and you're supinating, right? So it's like this, boom, right? Just like that, right? You roll it out, then you bring it in, okay? Now, I'm going to add a little bit more to the regrip, okay? That, what we kind of talked about last time is just, you know, you hit, and then you get your fingers higher, okay? But like I said, there's two big ridges, okay? The fingers are going to affect how much you can cut, right? So the higher up you get your fingers on the person's hand, the more you're going to be able to bend them, okay? But this branch here, when you elevate it up, right, that interacts with his cup significantly, right? So you're trying to really get your thumb up as well. Huge part of arm wrestling is where that thumb sits against the other person's hand, okay? So what I'm really trying to do, let me seal here, Jesse, okay? I'll show it a few different ways, okay? Okay, so just give me some good steady pressure. So I'm gonna top roll, okay? All right, here I am, okay? Now, if I just want to get my fingers higher, okay, pop up a little bit, get my fingers higher. But how I'm really gonna do massive damage to them is if I can actually get my thumb higher, okay? Now, the way you get your thumb higher, to a limited degree, it's controlled by just straight up how strong you can do this, right? Which is a tiny little strength, okay? We're talking about, you know, if you can do it with more than 10 pounds, you're considered a stud, right? But, I mean, this is a strength, if you're a psycho arm wrestler, you can work on that. Like, you can work on your ability to do this, okay? I've done it, okay? But, all right, but it's more of a positional thing. Okay, you'll get way higher dividends by just proper positioning on the table. So the way that you can free up your thumb, and that's really what it's about, because if we're here, give me pressure again, right? Okay, my ability to rise my thumb up right now when there's tension on it, okay, it's going to be very limited. I can't really do it, okay? Like maybe a little bit of slip, but I'm losing stuff at the same time while doing it. It's just too hard, okay? So if I have him, you know, if I'm in like any kind of control of the match, I can come in a bit, right? I can go down the other side of the pyramid, right? So, okay, little refresher, pyramid, okay? Starting off post, okay? And he counters me, okay? In my top roll, so I'm starting a top roll. He starts to break into some kind of inside movement, okay? Which allows me to come down and maybe a low hand, maybe a kickback. But either way, pressure's here. Pressure's on my back of my hand, right? You guys following me? All right? He's holding on to me, I'm top rolling. Okay? Now I want to regrip, right? Now I'm not just talking about regripping my fingers, I'm talking about regripping my thumb. Where's the pressure right now? The pressure's all right here, okay? So I can probably wiggle my fingers with not too much difficulty. I can probably get a couple good finger regrips in there and it's going to be fabulous. But I'm thinking, wow, would I ever like to get my thumb higher up, okay? Because then it's going to be so much easier. But it's really hard to do that when he's holding on to me like that. So I can switch with my pyramid, okay? I can be on this side and I can cross over. I can cross right over and I can switch to an inside technique. And I can even come right down underneath them just for a second. Real scary sometimes. But if you do it, if you have enough control and the match is like real tight, you know, one of those good matches where it's like you don't know who's going to win and there's a lot of pressure and things aren't moving very much. If you come in real quick, okay, what it does is it changes where the pressure is. So very slow, okay, very slow. Here we are. Don't move, ready, go. Okay, right now we're pretty balanced, okay? We both have pressure in our fingers and in our hands, okay? Close match, okay? I'm going to try and maybe get a regrip in there. Okay, now I feel like I've got just a tiny bit more than him, okay? And I'm like, geez, if I just could move my thumb up right now, this is going to be fabulous. Okay, very slowly, I'm gonna do the same kind of regrip, okay? But I'm going to show more inside, okay? More of that inside technique, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in on his arm, okay? Here, okay? And now what's happened is the pressure, okay, instead of being all like kind of balanced and spread around here, it's gotten down into here, all right? So again, right, you see me, here we are, we're pulling, we're rising, cup and rotating, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in a little bit, okay? All right, as soon as I come in, what's happened is the pressure's changed down here. Guess what? The thumb is free. See that? Okay, there's no pressure in the thumb anymore. And now my stud 10 pounds of pressure now can actually move, okay? Right, because all it needs to do is move. It doesn't have to power through anything, right? So I move where the pressure is, thumb can come up, and then I come back out. Again, so here we go, don't move, ready, go. Oh, so I'm working on my regrip, and I'm like, oh, geez, real close match. I'm like, I need my thumb, come in, and then I'm right back out, okay? I'm right back out with that pivot point significantly higher and with massive control, okay? Try that. Alright guys, let me show you something else. We're going to bounce around a bit, okay? We're going to jump on lots of different things, okay? So we talked about roughly, you know, outside arm wrestling. Outside arm wrestling, the golden rule is you want to be chased, right? You can think about, like, people think about top rolling and, you know, posting and low handing, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna have this up, I'm gonna bend my wrist, I'm not gonna let them see I'm not gonna have my palm seen, you know, I'm gonna pronate. And to me, that's all very confusing and very robotic, you know? Initially, I understand that, you know, that's the way you're gonna have to think about it, but as soon as possible, try and just get to where you're thinking, come to me, hold on to me, you know? And it's, to me, it's a much easier way to think about it, you know? You don't have to think about all, just be like, is he holding on to me? Yes, hold on to me more, hold on to me, you know? Chase me, come to me, you know? These are, you know, basic guiding thoughts of outside arm wrestling. Inside arm wrestling.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I got my buddy John Mill, he's always harassing me. I got a good friend John, and he's a hook arm wrestler. And he's always making fun of me, he's fairy finger walking, you know. Running away. He wants to do this thing, this Braveheart skit. I don't know if you guys see those in the Hook movies we do. He's like, he wants to make this movie like where you know that scene in Braveheart where the guy's like, you know, would you give up all the rest of your days for this one chance? But he wants to make it about hooking. Like would you not come inside? And anyways, so inside arm wrestling, right? It's considered, you know, the real power move. Very rewarding to win in a hook. You know, the power output total is higher, you know. It's more of a strength game. It's going to move it a little bit out of the hand. It's going to bring it down a little bit more into, you know, guys with good biceps, guys with good wrist flexion. Love hooking, okay? Lots of different styles of hooks. Okay, talk about how you set up a hook. What's the mindset for hooking, okay? When you're thinking about hooking, okay, what I think about hooking is first I think that I can't top roll, okay? So I realize I can't top roll, but this is for me, okay? You can decide to hook for whatever reason you want. But what is vital in a hook, very simple, just this, okay? This defines a hook to me, okay? This is really what it's all about, is getting your wrist bent. And if you can get your wrist bent, most guys feel like they're in the match. They have something that they can work off of, okay? Because all of the negative is coming somehow, hopefully, off of the wrist flexion. Okay, so how do you set up your wrist flexion, okay? Let me steal John, okay? And I'm going to talk about this a few different ways, okay? When you high hook, okay, when you high hook, and that's not really what I'm going to cover, okay, when you're outside arm wrestling, so we're working from where we were, okay, if you want to add to your hook piece, you're really looking at the top of your hand, okay? You're looking at your top finger and you want it on their knuckle, okay? Right here, okay? Good, yeah. That's what I'm looking for all the time, right? And you can tell when you got a good grip, like say we just look at this match right now, John's got a better grip than me for a high hook. If we both have our pronation set, right? Just because, you know, that's about 2 fingers, that's not even 1, okay? So anytime you're going to think about having a big cut component, get that finger high up, okay? Now this is for outside, this is for adding cup to your existing top roll. Now I'm going to talk about cup as a lead, okay? Hooking as a lead, right? Now with this, my priorities are different. What I'm thinking about is I'm thinking about that dude's bicep. That's where my thought lies. My thought lies in controlling the center of the table. My thought lies in the commitment of my shoulder. Okay? I want more commitment than my opponent. I want to have more of my body over that match than my opponent. I want to be on his bicep and on his rotation. All I care about is the bending of my wrist above anything else. I want him to run for me. Okay? When you talk about the center of arm wrestling, I want him to run down this outside path and just keep running away from me. That's what my goal is, okay? So I'm going to crowd the center of the table. I don't care about my thumb anymore. Remember how we talked about this ridge and how so important it is and elevating it all the time? This ridge is how you reach a person's fingers, okay? I don't care about pronation right now, okay? It's not in my focus. My focus is on making him see his palm, and I'll give away that. I'll give it away if required. There's different ways I can give it away. We'll get into that. So, before, when I talked about how the height of your thumb is important, actually I didn't get that fully. Remind me about the setup and the thumb for outside arm wrestling. But the thumb for inside arm wrestling, I don't care about the height of it whatsoever. Okay? I bury it. I bury it low, okay? I bury it low to have a high angle, okay? Here we go. So if he's at the table, okay, my thumb is coming low, and look how low it comes, okay? No kidding, that low. This is where I'm going to come in. You see that? I'm going to come in here, okay? This is how extreme it can be. It doesn't have to be so extreme, but I'm going to show you this way so you really get it, okay? Why does it come low? First reason is I really want to have my hand high, okay? I don't want him to threaten this angle. I want to make sure I have it. So I'm going to go low so he can't really access it. The next thing that my thumb being low like that is going to do is going to cause problems with the setup for him. He's going to have to make some adjustments because it'll be an illegal grip. And the third thing is it's going to create space, okay? Space here. What a good top roller wants is he wants to pull into your fingers. He wants to reach your fingers so he can attack your wrist, make your wrist bend back. By coming low, having your angle high, and creating this big space, it's going to take that much time before you can even find your fingers. Hopefully by then, you'll have time to get your bend in. So I come low, okay, and I'm threatening inside to find his bicep. I'm always going to think the angle from my shoulder to my hands is cutting into his arm, okay? Right now this is not good, right? He's cutting into my arm if you draw a line, okay? Right there we're about even, okay? Now I always want it to be here, okay? I want to threaten, I want to be table boss. I want to control that center so that he cannot properly pull inside, okay? I'm trying to make it so he has to run from me. Because like I said earlier, you cannot pull inside when your arm's separated from your body. You can pull outside, it's great, okay? But if I'm out here, me coming in is a bad news story every time, especially if the other guy's all up on top of it. It's going to be terrible. So, okay, so I'm coming in, thumb is low, angle's high, thinking about that angle, right? Here I am, okay? Good. See how low I am? Okay? See how much space I have? Now what's going on right here is, see the thumb knuckles? Okay? It's an illegal grip. It's an illegal grip, right? So he has to make an adjustment. And the adjustment that he has to make is he either has to come inside against me, that means he has to start committing his body, or he has to start doing a low hand top roll, which is really what I want him to do. Because that will help me find his bicep even more. Right? Come in, low thumb, high angle. Push off a little bit, control the center of the table. Okay? Take my grip. Space. Space here. Lots of space. Right? Now there's going to be a negotiation piece. Right? Negotiation piece is him having, the referee's going to tell him to see your knuckle. Okay, as he is dropping or whatever he's doing, I'm keeping my high angle, supinate, do that regrip that we were working on, right? And I'm going to regrip up his hand while he's dropping. What this is doing is it's giving me an awesome grip. The whole time I'm keeping that cup right there. That's space. That's space. Okay? Low, push. Okay? He's got it, still there. See that? As he grabs a little bit, I just climb higher up his hand. And what ends up happening is he ends up having to do a low move. You are making him run away from you. The lead in this kind of arm wrestling is flexion. Okay? The lead is bending that wrist. Right? And hopefully, you've got it set up that he's going to be going away like this, okay? And you are just going to turn him. Once you turn him, everything is great. You bend your wrist, he may start to overtax you. He may start to turn your wrist depending on how strong he is. You have choices. You have to give things up as well, right? Like you're not going to be able, you may just crush him, but if it's a close match, and that's what you're training for, close matches, is he may start to bring you over, even in this counter. You can give up angle in many different ways, right? He may make you give up this a little bit, so you're not like as on it as you'd like. What you don't want to do is you don't want to end up in a defensive hook, right? Because then he may be overcommitted and getting on your bicep. Okay? You want to keep that commitment. So the way you do it is as he starts to turn you, okay, you'll fall behind with your shoulder and block. Okay? Right? So that is inside commitment arm wrestling. Okay? Alright, because this is better than this. Okay? Right? These angles, when you talk about angles of value, okay, it goes from most important to least important. Alright? So if you want to give something up, I'd always prefer to give something up in my shoulder, my elbow, before I give something up in my wrist. Okay? So by giving something up with my body angle, way better than giving up my pronation. Right? So instead of being like this and keeping my body angle, I'll give this up. Right? Right? It's the same effect on the hand. Right? So again, I recognize that I'm not going to top roll a student. As soon as I grip up and try and run or whatever, he's not having it, and I just know from our past matchups or whatever, this guy, he's got a mega hand, mega top roller. I want to force it inside. Right? High angle. Keep your high angle. Thumb low, angle high, threaten this way. Threaten this way. Right? Balanced by adjusting with deflection and connection. Right? Okay? There we go. On the don't, and you can change your stance as well. Okay? Change your stance to almost, you can do foot propped. Okay? It's more drive this way. Or you can just generally just center more this way as opposed to more of an open stance. So as you get behind it, your only thought is hopefully you have him so he's not really coming this way. Hopefully you have him, and this is the reason why you do this move, is because he's too heavy on his bicep. He's too heavy on back pressure. If don't move, ready, go, boom, you had that control. And then from here, you can basically do whatever you want. We'll get into that a little bit later. But that's really, I think, the best way to set up inside style arm wrestling. Okay? You're not going to be leading with any kind of pronation. Leading with flexion. You want to mess around with that for a bit?
Yeah.
You guys got any questions?
Yeah. Oh no, it's in the way. Can you pull him out a bit?
Nothing I could do.
Okay.
You won't need it. It's not revelation because I'm always
Sorry.
Very good.
Yeah, work out. Thank you.
I think
Hey, whip me that strap. Let's do the strap for him.
that'll be good. Have fun, man. Yeah. There's some king going on.
Oh yeah, so now what can
Yeah, I should break into some strap training here.
Ah, jeez,
Right there. I thought you had him, mate. I was in the corner. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fucking brick wall.
Yeah.
I can't curl my wrist around.
that's the idea.
That's it.
Lefty?
Yeah, kind of got a little bit of a left injury.
I'm not going to pull through you. I'll just hold you.
Yeah, alright.
It's up to you.
Right.
He's going the opposite way. It's really weird. I can't get the wrist.
It's rotation like I'm...
Yeah.
We just keep it on the left.
Unbelievable.
Go. Yeah. We'll win before the Barbie's finished.
I feel that.
Yeah, so good.
You can't get your wrist all the way around. It turns it out. It's... Looks like I'm like Pushka.
Watch
You want strap or?
I see what you're doing. I'm on you. Yeah. Get the big boys up. Yeah.
Nearly.
Yeah. Good.
I saw the post coming.
Yeah. You want strap or?
I think I'll go in for one afterwards.
What's it?
Do you feel your wrist? Turn your wrist.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You feel as soon as I feel him starting to come in, I'm flattening. You feel that? Yeah.
Are you trying, Andrew?
No. I'm waiting for the drive.
It's not coming.
No, not unless you give me the nod.
Entirely yourself there.
Yeah, you got blue tape on now.
It's the right though, right?
Yeah, it's
Good.
Paul,
Paul.
go with it. This is the guy with a fat hand.
There's another big guy. Let's keep the big guys going, please. Take his wrist, Paul.
Alright, Paul, take him down now.
That's it, climb. Climb. That wasn't you, Devon, climbing.
What's going on there?
Come on, you got another 30 seconds, Paul. Come on, wear him down. Hi, Andrew.
Yeah, let's do a strap.
I'm feeling like a girl. So we're gonna let him drive on?
Can't get your wrist.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I want to feel it.
Feel a little bit
I might go with it. I might hit the pad before you do.
Yeah, I don't know if it's, I'm big like in practice, like with all my guys, like everywhere I go, I always preach, like for practice, always preach, stronger man holds, weaker man works. You know, it's the safest and best for everybody. You know, there's nothing that you're learning from getting ripped open. You know, nothing really good at least.
Yeah, Paul. I hold. I hold. It's open every week.
No, don't get me wrong. Like we like to do matches and stuff like that, but only when guys are kind of close and you know they're feeling safe. Like, but for the most part, like in the majority of the training, stronger man holds, weaker man works. And the stronger man, you know, he can put himself into as vulnerable of a position that he wants, right? And the weaker man just gets to control his intensity.
That's you, Paul.
Yes.
I got it.
Right, but it's all about pulling in good form, right? Like if I start to rip on you, if I'm able to move you, you know, it just puts you in bad form.
Yep.
You know, and that's good for nobody. Good.
What's swinging off the note?
Hey.
Andrew. You. Mate, giving me good one.
Start righty, lefty, lefty.
Do it right. You're coming up. You got a left-handed match
You
next
want
week.
strap or?
whatever.
We'll do the strap on the right.
Not gonna make any difference at this point.
Yeah. Keep the elbow close to the body. Close, good. Bump it inside, bump it inside. Get that elbow over here. See out here? Oh, stop. See, when your elbow's over here and your hip is over here, as soon as he starts to go inside, I kind of get a ooh feeling, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Because it's bad mechanics, right? Like you can't, like side pressure is a part of arm wrestling, but it's a great part of arm wrestling when you're here and you know you're real guarded. If you're here and it's right around here that things are real bad, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Keep your hip over there. Yeah. And instead of thinking about going to the side, think about connection, right? Get it close to you. Yeah. Good. That's it. Now bump your elbow. Just move your elbow over there. No, hold on. No. Not all together. Just the elbow. Watch this. I'm gonna do it to you. Okay. Give me some pressure. Okay. Watch this. No, there's no real pressure change that happens in the hand. All it is, I'm moving my elbow inside.
That way.
That way. Yeah. Elbow inside. Right. Because that changes the route. Right. Like if I want to start to go to the side, if my elbows are here and I go to the side, I'm real open, right? But if I'm like, okay, here we are, bump my elbow inside, and it really didn't change any pressure in the hand, did it, right? I didn't overtax my hand, right? Bump it in, and now, see this? Everything's in line, right? Instead of here where it has to spiral, right? This is a spiral, this is in line. You see that? Good, that's exactly. There you go. And you can even reposition your fingers. Yeah, when you do it. Good, yeah, much better, yeah. But as soon as, yes, happy. I'm happy. Yeah, good. Good, yeah. Good, and after every time you surge, grab higher up.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 Good. 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 Yes. Good. Yes.
Keep going.
Come on, keep driving. Keep getting out of those fingers.
Good.
Come on, Andrew.
Good. Finished.
Nice how you put it on your side, mate.
Yeah, it's just easier. I'll put it on the other side.
Yeah.
I'm cheating all the time. Yeah. Can't help myself. Yeah, remember, get that elbow inside your body. Good. Yeah, get your hip. Good. 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 I got this great t-shirt idea for arm wrestling. Like, high hookers, do the same thing, only harder. Okay? Isn't that like I feel like that is like really what arm wrestling's about. Like, you know, because we're all stubborn people, and it's like, why isn't this working? I have to do it harder. You know? Yeah. Good. Get your hand higher up, higher up. Good. Elbow inside. Higher up, higher up, higher up. Yep. Good. 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 Come back up high. Get your hand high. High, high, high. Yeah. Good. 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 Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good. Stand up, stand up.
Shot next. He's
Stand
cooking
up.
the barbie.
Get your fingers high up. Good.
Steve's got huge hands. You know he beat Mark Toll.
Good. Good.
Oh, Stephen's just cooking the barbie. Come and show Dad what he's got.
Yeah,
Flash him, mate.
See,
we're going to lift that one.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, fantastic.
You arm wrestle?
No.
Okay, don't go too hard.
So
You're gonna hurt.
Go hard, mate. Go hard. Work cover.
Yeah.
That's it for.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not gonna pin you. Don't break your arm, okay?
Okay.
Alright.
All right.
Go hard, Stephen.
Easier body. Yeah, he'll cover you, right? Pull. No, not that way. No, pull this way. That's the key to arm wrestling. Over here. See this? That way. That way. Watch this. Look at me. Watch this. See that?
Yeah.
That way. That's it. Elbow forward. Keep your hip closed. Elbow comes forward. Cover your thumb. Cover your thumb. Cover it. Fingers, cover. That's it. Keep your hip close. That's it. Cover your thumb. Cover it. That's it.
Drive. Drive.
Keep that hip close.
Drive. More. More.
Hi guys.
More. Stephen beat me
I'm
once in
doing
an arm
blank
wrestle.
because I wouldn't be
Stephen.
able to play tennis with you. Excellent.
Yeah.
Good to meet you.
It's like arm wrestling on the wall, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's got to move. Move on object. Okay. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's home time.
Good. Yep. Use your ridges, guys. Like you talk about using your cup. What you're trying to do is when you use pressure, okay, when you supinate or rotate, try and work that so it gets lower and lower down, right? Like I try and get the pressure higher and higher, higher up. So when I spin, right, instead of spinning here, I'm spinning down here. Or when I supinate, right, I'm not supinating like here. I'm supinating here, 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 here. You know? Where were we? Were we left? Yeah.
Brendan, you just organise after this one. Ours has got to leave if we can do that.
Yeah.
Like the photo that we took last time. Just
Hit-
so he's
hit
in it. So we got one of those photos of all of us. We might go outside.
Yeah.
Good.
Get more around me. Get more around. Good. Yeah. Elbow inside.
We'll just stand.
See the
outside.
palm.
Yeah.
Get higher up. Over the thumb. That's it. Hip. Hip. Good. Good. Elbow. Higher up. Higher up. Higher up. Come in and commit your body. Stand up and come around it. That's it. Good. Elbow. Good. 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 Good, good. Yeah.
Crazy.
I'll give myself the buckle. Like a good Samaritan. There we go. I just find it harder to put on this way. I have to reach over.
Someone else will.
Good. Yeah. Yep. You want to tighten it? Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good. Good, good. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Good. Good, John. Get that out. Yes, you got it. Yeah. Think about that thumb just a tiny bit more. Yes. Good. Good. Good pulling. There you got a big step. Now start thinking about lowering your hand throughout all this. Start thinking about, that's it. That's it. Yes. Yes. That's it. That's it. Hey, that's real good pulling. You just need to be stronger. That's great. That's great. Really good. Want a strappy?
Change the pad.
That was really great. You had me holding on to you the whole time. Oh, right. I was going to arm wrestle your left hand again there somehow. Ah, yeah, good.
Is John doing inside or outside pulling?
Who?
John.
He's kind of balanced. He's pretty good. He's giving me a lot of different feels right now. He's in my fingers, but he's
And I can't.
good balance.
I want to come more in here, but it's still
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah, good.
there.
And the only thing you can do now really is you can kick back your wrist a bit more when you come forward, right? When you come forward, when you come forward, when you come forward and up. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. More back, more back, more back. That's it. You felt that slip?
Yeah. Now it's getting easier.
Easier if you do it again. That's it. Good. Yeah, even easier still. And get the elbow inside.
Very good.
Key strategy, a guy with shorter hand adopting straps against a guy with longer hand. Is it moving forward how?
Moving, yeah, that's the next thing I was gonna cover was elbow positioning. But I think we'll probably do that after.
Okay.
Yeah, some snags already. Steven's a bit slow.
We'll pull
Devin's
like
apparently caught his arm out of the swing.
pull and slower.
You want video? Roland is going to be there.
Oh, I'm gonna do it. I'll be having
On
some.
that,
Yes,
using these cameras, I should. It feels, you'll,
I think so. Lynn's gonna
I'll
do
probably give you this. You can do
Sorry,
this.
what?
Yeah.
Cool to do the happy
Yeah,
snap
I'll
with
see
all
if
of
I
us.
can go next.
Yeah.
Just a little red one there.
Like a
If-
good
if
friend.
I'm
Yeah,
going
just
there,
yeah, Grass has got a guy,
that
so.
turns
Yeah,
it
no
on,
worries.
that does that. Oh, I think we can do a group
Get
photo.
that thumb up while you're pulling. Pull up. Okay, now come in to press me. Yeah, but see how you, when you come in to press me, you take all the pressure off my hand. Like it's like you want to come in to press, but pull up at the same time. See this? Right? Yeah, that's it. No, see how you push it? Don't push. Not yet. Push only for the finished piece. All right? I'm holding on to you. Yeah, I'm holding on. Good. Now kind of come around it a little bit. That's it. See your palm? Okay, now pull it straight down to your center. That's it. Now come back up and come around it even more. That's it. Now lift your thumb. Supinate. That's it. There you go. Yeah?
Maybe one day or he told that.
Good. I'm just getting ready to close my file.
But the thing is, it's all,
Yeah, you can play the
so it's pretty much.
For 2 minutes, ready to go, ready to go, you know, give yourself 15 seconds in between.
Thanks, man.
He's just practicing.
Or even, like another thing you can do is really, you can try to boom, right? Like you can try and be really loose. Like sometimes, depending on how it sits, you don't necessarily want to load. Like watch this. Like a really great thing for a hooker, if you can control that center of the table, right? And if you know he's rolling, right? Kind of get that spot. And even if it's over here, that's fine. Sink it, and then just kind of relax. Okay? No pressure here. Right? And then let the ref kind of say, yeah, exactly, you got to come back to center, right? And if you can always just kind of be real loose here with your elbow, right? Like always be kind of like this way, you know, don't tuck it in too much because he's going to turn you over. Always kind of be cutting it off and be loose floating, so he has to kind of relax. That's it, right?
Yeah, it's awful if you're trying to
Yeah, right?
He's going to want to pull
Right, he's going to be wanting to pull back, so you can kind of float.
Yeah.
And then really, it's a boom, you know, like don't move, boom, you know. All commitment. I mean, you can, that's just another way. If you feel it, go with it. But sometimes the best thing is to not load, just to be kind of floating. Commit in the right places. Make sure you're cutting off the center of the table.
Let me have it.
Think about the base of your hand. About injuries. Okay, and there's a lot of different ideas about injuries and arm wrestling. You're gonna get injuries wherever it is. It's part of any sport. Any sport you do to a high level, you're gonna get injuries, tendonitis, whatever. That's a common one. And when I say injuries, I'm not talking about breaking your arm or something that requires surgery. I'm not talking about where you actually ruptured your tendon or blew a tendon off a bone or blew a ligament completely. I'm talking about basically being something past sore. Something that takes 5 or 6 weeks. I hurt myself in a match. There's nothing obvious, nothing went purple, nothing's visibly torn or broken, but it's something bad happened, And for me, that doesn't keep me off the table. That does not keep me outside the gym. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I've got this injury, and I just want to let it heal." To me, is the worst thing you can do. To me, what I think is, you never want to stop getting into the gym. You never want to stop going to the club and training. Reasons why, okay? The big reason for why you don't want to stop going to the club is you will become a better arm wrestler training through injury. The big thing is you need to let your guys know that you're injured, okay? The club, you have to have a great club environment. You need to have dudes who you can talk to and you say, "Hey man, I'm hurt real bad in this spot. I'll show you exactly where I'm hurt. You got to take care of me." And hopefully your guys are cool enough that they will do that. And what it's going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to diversify. I believe you become a great arm wrestler through injury. In 1998, I was a relatively new arm wrestler. I was an arm wrestler who had really just found that really, really strong spot known as the press. You know what I mean? I'd been arm wrestling competitively for, about 4 years, 5 years, and if the match stopped, I knew if I turned like this, there was a whole lot of pressure coming. And I'd been thinking about this guy, Earl Wilson. He's a great Canadian arm wrestler. I was thinking about him, and I'm going to beat this guy. Beat this guy at the Mike Blue Classic. And I did beat him. We hit in. I planned the match. I'd arm wrestled him 1,000 times in my mind before I had stepped up to the table that day. And I hit out, and I came inside, and I committed. And I buried him. I buried his arm. But Earl Wilson is a gorilla. And in the process of me burying his arm, he seriously stretched out some stuff in there. Like I was done for the rest of the tournament, basically. I got my win, and there was no sound, and nothing broke, but something got stretched to a point where if I took my finger and touched here, it was ridiculous pain. It was not happening. There was no supination ability. There was no side pressure in my game. Nothing. Because when I hit my press, right, instead of being here and being all in line, I was probably about here. And I just forced that thing in there, It was great, but, in that process I got an injury. So what I did was I just kept on training. I kept on pulling. And what I did was for 1.5 years, I top rolled. And I only top. And at that point, I really didn't know how to top roll very well. Outside pulling. Because that's all I could do. That's all I was able to do. And if I had not received that injury, who knows, maybe I wouldn't have top rolled for several years after that. Anyways, the injury came back. 1.5 years later, my hook came back, and my side pressure was great, and there was no issues. But over the course of that period, I've added a huge, balance piece to my game. And every time I've gotten injured, I've still arm wrestled. After my surgery, I was on the table. I think it was 3 days after. Actually, it was the next day. I was on the table arm wrestling. But I told my guys, I'm like, listen, you can't do anything to me. I just had surgery. All I want you to do is just touch my hand. And I'm like, it's all I can do right now. That's all I can do. Just hold hands with me. And, but I knew that doing nothing was not the right choice. Golden rule arm wrestling: don't ever stop. Don't stop, and don't get injured. Those two things. I've failed, but I'm keeping on working at it. So, and through that process, they were cool with me. Nobody hurt me anymore, and they let me kind of slowly work back into it. If I had just said I'll be back in 3 or 4 weeks, or 2 months or 3 months or whatever,
you know, all that stuff that I in between there wouldn't have happened. There's always something you can do. Anyways, that's kind of how I feel about injuries and pulling. Let me see, what else want to touch on? The thumb, right. I forgot about this part. Outside arm wrestling. I want to show you guys just a very simple little trick, okay, about table setups. Maybe I'll show you a few other little tricks while our food's still digesting. So, you want the guy to come to you, right? You want to be chased outside arm wrestling. So much of it, and this goes for inside arm wrestling too. It's what target you're presenting, okay? What are they going to bite on, okay? And it's about the thumb, okay? The thumb, you have to be able to see the thumb knuckle. This is the problem, right? This is the problem. Like if I want an arm wrestle you, I would love to be all up here, but the rule says that you need to see that stupid thumb knuckle. So this is the big issue, right? So the way you can really screw guys around in the setup is where you put your thumb, okay? Whenever you're arm wrestling and you're presenting something for the person to grab, right? You want to have your thumb as open as possible, right? I don't ever want to be grabbing somebody or gripping around with a low thumb, okay? Because what it means is their fingers can come over really nice and high and they can get really far around my hand and in a dangerous spot. I don't want somebody up around the top of my hand. I don't want them there. I want them down lower, chase them down lower so I can start to get into their fingers, right? But if I have my hand high, my thumb high, then there's no way they're going to be able to get anything here, so they grab lower down, okay? Always have your thumb high up, okay? Whenever you're gripping up. Come on up and you'll feel it, right? Like here, I got a thumb low, okay? Just take grip, okay? Probably feels real comfortable, right? Okay, now I'm going to put a little bit of energy into keeping my thumb high, right? Take grip. You probably right away you're like, I don't even really, it doesn't feel anywhere near as good, right? Right, and that was very easy, right? Just by having my thumb high. Now in this process, there's trump cards for him, right? So what he wants to do, if he's going to decide to grab me, he's going to want to get as far around me as possible, right? Right. So if you, right, he's going to lift his elbow up, and he can even come right around, right? Like if you hold your thumb up, right, nice and high up. If I want to trump this, okay, I can be like, right, I'm going to, do like this kind of thing. All right, come right around, set it, and then bring it back. Okay? But if he's smart, what he's going to do is he's going to hide his hand. Okay? Right? So do it to me now, I'm going to hide my hand so he can't get as far around me, right? So as he comes in, okay? Right? He can't get as far around. Right? And then I'm good again. Right? So always as he's approaching, okay? Hide your hand, right? As soon as he starts to come, I'll do it to you, right? I'm going to grab you, right? Keep your hand nice and high, right? Now, as I come in, see your palm slightly. No, that's it, right? And pull up into my fingers. There you go, right? That probably feels dynamite right there if you close it. Yeah, right? Dynamite, right? Yeah, you're way out there, right? So you always want to hide your thumb and not let them get as far around you, right? So just as they're coming in, just a little. And guys are going to get frustrated, guys are going to be like, so everything needs to be subtle and needs to be small because an advantage that's big is never going to fly. Any great referee is going to be like, this is just crazy, and he's going to throw you in a ref script or you're going to... whether it's right or whether it's wrong, it's a very difficult call for a referee to make because there's a lot of arguments that an arm wrestler can throw at you, There's arguments for floppers pressing, there's arguments for King's move that, it doesn't make it as simple as, he was at fault. It's a hard call to make. So, what I'm trying to say is that it's inevitable to pull in straps, really. So, you need to practice in them. The best way to, become good at pulling the strap is just pulling it all the time. You're going to get real comfortable. The big differences are when the strap is on, you are fully connected. So all these movements that we feel, the person's automatically going to feel them. And you're not, and that is not the case outside of the straps. Let me steal you. Right. So when we're outside of the strap, okay. If I want to hook Dwayne, if I want to pull him out, okay. If I want to get him away from his body, and I'm doing it in a low capacity, I basically need to have a wrist, right? Like if I want to pull him away, I pretty much need to have wrist flexion involved, okay? If this strap is on, it's absolutely not a requirement. He's gonna come back without the wrist, all right? Like if we're tied together, right? So we're tied together, and no matter what, you know, give me a little bit of pressure, right? Here we are. I have no cup involvement, right? Right away. I mean, that's happening, okay? So it increases the value of elbow and shoulder strength, you know? Floppers do much better in the strap, because you do not need to have a wrist to extend a guy. It's a big difference. Same thing with rotation. Normally, when you talk about the rotation of the arm, of the hand, for that to work, the guy needs to be holding on to you outside of the strap. If you're not going to hold on to me, and I spin my hand, nothing's happening. Nothing at all is happening if you're not holding on to me. I'll spin out into nothing. If you're rising up and I decide to spin, nothing's happening. But when you're in the strap, if you twist, right away it's having an effect on the person's wrist. Right away. So that adds value to your rotation piece. Same thing with all the pieces that, you know, supination. Feels it automatically, you know. So what I think is the strap is going to add value to pronation and the strength of your shoulder and connection without the flexation. So really, the big difference is you need massive pronation if you're going to be a great strap puller. Massive pronation. King's move arm wrestling. You guys know the King's move. Okay? People have their opinions about the King's move. I think it's a beautiful part of arm wrestling. Just my opinion. I think, like all moves, it has a counter. But King's move arm wrestling doesn't exist outside the straps. It's impossible to do the move without a strap. Take away the strap from arm wrestling, Michael Todd will be a non-player. But in no way am I saying that's bad. I think it's great. I think the strap is a great part of arm wrestling, and I'm just a big proponent for practicing. And that's why I also use the 1.5 inch strap, because you cannot get the volume with an inch wide strap. You will hurt yourself. You will get nerve damage. Whether they move to these eventually, I don't know. I'm not selling them or anything like that. It's just what I honestly believe. Yeah, when it comes to the straps, generally, you just want all straps towards you. Very simple. We'll work, if you guys want, I know you've seen the video, but if you want, you know, I'll kind of talk you guys through the cheats, kind of. Yeah, because there's a lot of things that you really have to pay attention to in the strap. Okay, why don't we do it very, very slow? Who wants to come up here and be a test dummy with me? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so right away, come to the table. Okay, considerations for what side do I want to be on. All right, they need to change these straps. Really, that's the real answer, because there is such a big advantage. Anyways, we're not there yet. This is what we're working with. I'm the head referee, okay? No, that's cool. Stay there. I'm the head referee. He's right there, okay? If I'm going to pull straps, okay, I really, really want to be on this side of the table for arm wrestling right hand. I always want my palm to face the head referee, all right? There's a couple of reasons for that, but that's generally the rule. The only reason, in my opinion, that you ever want to be on this side of the table, well, if you look better from that side, maybe that might be one reason. But seriously, a good reason to be on this side is if you think that this guy's some kind of crazy flash pinner that just has a chance of banging you down really, really quick, and you think that this ref can't drop down in time, you know, to see it, and then you're gonna stop, like, that might be a reason, but it's not a very good reason. 99.9% of the times, I want this side of the table, okay? That's because there is, you know, a thing that goes on here, like whatever's going on has to go through this guy and then to this guy, so there's that delay that you can take advantage of. And the big reason is the buckle is on your opponent's hand. It's not that the buckle is on his hand, it's the way that it gets tightened is the real issue. The way that the strap is tightened pulls your hand up and your opponent's hand down. And that's where the advantage, the real advantage takes place. When it comes to cheats in the straps, there's only one cheat that he has versus the many that I really have. If you have the buckle, it's not the end of the world. It's just you are disadvantaged. Right. So first off, I want this side of the table. Okay. So we slip out. There's a number of ways to slip out. So generally, I would generally really try to do my thing, to try and stay up top, you know, as much as possible, and make it a legit slip out. Like, actually try and top roll a guy, actually try and do your thing, right? Like, that was a slip on him, right? He slipped out there, did it great, balled up underneath my hand, saved his rotation, right? Saved his rotation, was hard with his rotator, yeah, and just gave up a little bit of his rise, right? Balled up underneath, it's perfect, right? That's a great way to slip. I've seen guys who can't do that, who just move into a flop. I've seen some guys who just come straight down. Okay? I've seen that, and I've seen it work. Okay, but I suggest that way is probably the best way of all. Yeah, just ball up, stay as high as you can until you can't anymore. Keep your rotator hard. Ball up through your thumb.
Pull your fingers together.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Got your straps. Okay, so when the strap is going on. Okay, who wants to be my referee? Okay. Alright, so we'll do it very slowly, right? Okay, so he's going to start to put the strap on. Now the first thing that I'm thinking right away is, see here, I'm going to bend my wrist back just slightly. Just slightly. And the reason that I bend my wrist back just a little bit, okay, is the way that the strap runs, okay? I want to make this strap run as low down as possible, okay? And by bending my wrist back just a little bit, it's more likely to fall low. If I have my wrist bent in or whatever, okay, it's more likely to run high, okay? These are just small angles, okay? Right, okay, and it's more for my side than it is for yours because your piece doesn't even happen until much later, okay? Right? But anyway, so I'm gonna have it fall back. Anytime you can get your hands on the strap, do it, okay? The referee is gonna have different levels of being okay with it. Referees who are really tight at WAF or whatever, it's probably not gonna fly, okay? But a lot of tournaments, and even high-level tournaments, you can get away with it, especially if you're a nice, pleasant, polite fellow, you know? You use your manners, say, listen man, can I just help you here? You want me to just hold this for you? Yeah. Right? And it's much better that you do it before the other guy does it, okay? And listen, like, the referee is the shittiest job in the world, okay? It is a terrible job. You're nobody's friend, and everybody hates you. You know what I mean? You can't make a good call. It's impossible. It's only bad calls. So normally, you know, reffing declines, okay? Normally at the beginning of the tournament, the reffing is tight and precise, and by the time the most important matches roll around, nobody gives a fuck. And it's just like, yeah, whatever, guys. You want to, so get your hands on the straps if possible. Okay, worst thing that can happen is maybe you get a warning. Okay, so if you just, you know, whatever, you know, I'm not telling you to cheat. I'm just telling you that these things happen. Okay, this is what the world is. Okay, all right. So in this process, all I'm saying is, if you can get any strap towards you, is good news. Okay, this intersection. Okay, good news. Okay, this intersection, low. People talk about, oh, I want a high strap. Experimented and experimented. I don't see it. I wish I could get somebody to really explain it to me. I've had discussions with people about the merits of it,
It's never made sense in my mind. If you find a good reason, please make a video or something to really explain it to me, because I don't know it. I've heard arguments, just don't believe any of them. It's all about being low. There is a magical point of do not go beyond. Like sometimes, you know, it's like if it goes any lower, it's not really going to help you anymore. But you definitely want it lower as opposed to higher. Okay, so as the process is going on, the big advantage that the guy on my side has, as opposed to this guy, is the webbing height, okay? What the straps do is they're going to lock us together eventually. Eventually, we're going to be connected. And my big goal is to have the sum parts of my hand higher than the sum parts of his hand, okay? And the way I do that is I try to get my webbing higher than his. Okay, the way I do that is I try and be as sneaky and subtle about it as possible. Okay, and the way I do that is I keep kind of trying to sneak forward. The referee's going to tell you to keep your elbows to the back of the pad. This never happens. Okay, this never happens. The elbows always are sliding forward. Okay, elbows sliding forward just slightly. It just has to be more than your opponent. Okay, and you're going to see your palm. Okay, you're going to see your palm, and the reason why you see your palm is because it's an illusion. Okay, like if you put your hand flat like the way you're supposed to, okay, right now it can look like our hands are relatively even, okay? But when we come together, you see that mine is higher, right? Okay, so when he's looking at it, you know, he's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm tired, and he's doing something, and, you know, whatever, okay? And then by the time he actually tightens it down, he realizes, but he doesn't care. Okay? All right, and this is the truth. This is the truth, and you know, unfortunately, this is the game that we're all playing. Okay, and both guys are doing it, and the referee's job is a difficult job. The referee's job is to start a match within the rules. He's not there to save anybody. You know what I mean? So long as, you know, thumb knuckles showing, wrist straight, center of the table. I mean, he can't say, oh, you got more than him, we're going to have to change everything. No, it's, you got fucked. You know? Like, and the ready to go is coming shortly thereafter. Okay, so sneaking forward, seeing your palm slightly to set up the tightening process. Okay, give us a little bit more of the old wrapping. Right. Okay, so now another thing, right around the time, yeah, go on a little bit farther. Right around this time, okay, this is when you want to start, stop right there. Okay, this is around the time when you want to start pushing past, right? So you got both parts of your regrip, right? You got the running regrip, which we were talking about earlier. That's getting your thumb high, right? That's getting your fingers high. That's getting your webbing up, right? Okay, seeing your palm coming forward, okay? Getting the sum of my hand higher. The next part of it is the whole push pass thing, right? The thing we've been working on with the hooking, because arm wrestling is both. It's inside and outside. And the best way I've found to get this going is to keep your high piece, and then it's almost like you're shooting the gun with the bottom part of your hand, right? Just to squeeze, okay? Right, just to squeeze, okay? And what you're doing is you're forcing the guy lower on your hand, okay? All right, and that's happening probably right around now, okay? All right, just holding the dude there, yeah. All right, yeah, exactly, right? Just pushing them down. It's not even really so much of a cup as you bring your fingers real close to where you are, and then you push it down, right? Boom. Yeah. Yeah, you can even, like, watch this, see how you're kind of being flat, okay? Watch this, instead of being flat, actually come, I push you down. Oh, wow, see that? Okay, right? Right, so come like this, right? Curl the tops of your fingers. Yeah, that's it. That's better. Okay, right?
Who noticed that?
Yeah, right? Okay, so that way you can really get some good push.
Yeah,
you can push the guy right there. Yes,
I've never tried that.
Exactly. Okay. Good. Okay, so now the strap is getting tight. Yeah? Okay, and now is when everything's the most important, right? Now is really when the tightening, so now you really have to see how I'm coming up like this. I'm pushing, I'm getting that thing up. Oh yeah, tighten that thing up. Oh yeah, see, okay, I've got everything. I've got everything, right? You see how much I've got here? I'm super high, it's just, it's my dream, okay? Yeah, yeah, and it leaves them with very little, okay? So that's the main cheats that you're after. If things go bad from here, depending on how much you want to bail out, okay, there's a few things you can do. Okay, the great thing you can do is you can just reach up and forward, Okay, that's it. Yeah, reach. And forget about keeping your elbow on the pad. Forget all about that. Right? That's it. Like here, get right up. Like take it back from me. Take it back from me. I've got so much here. Let me just get it. It's hard even to take it back. Right?
I'm doing better now.
Yeah. Okay. It feels good. Right. So I'm gonna do it back to him. Right. My elbow's gonna come right off the pad. I'm gonna come forward. Right. And I'm gonna come up. Right.
Yeah, these are on now.
Okay. So now I've got it back. Right. I've got that height. Right. See? Right? Yeah. And that's a great way when things go wrong, right? Just come at them and then come up, right? Yeah? Okay? And if things are terrible, okay, maybe not fully terrible, but here's a great thing to say. They're not tight enough. And what you do is you pull them towards you. Okay? Before the referee has a chance, or this guy's got a chance, he's going to say no, he's going to be upset. Tensions are going to be high, but it's just another, and you may get a warning. You may. But really, a warning is really just not a big deal, okay? And you probably won't, because people want to see somebody get pinned. Another problem with arm wrestling, you know, when you have rules and you have people that want to win, it's a terrible mess, okay? So you can adjust the straps at this point. You know, you can mess with your straps. Or if it's just totally terrible and you realize you really messed something up and you're not getting it back, you can be like, forget it. and seriously, you can do it. If it's terrible, and the referee might be completely pissed off, but this is better than just losing your match, you know, is better. You know, if it's just horrible, then don't start a match when it's terrible, you know. Yeah, this is my basic advice for strap pulling. Yeah.
So what's on the buckle side?
Okay, so right, okay, all right. Okay, so let me go buckle, and this is there's only one tiny little advantage that I have that he doesn't. Okay, and it's right here. It's in this process right here, because. This piece, see this piece? This is complete on his side already. Okay, it's already set. That's where it's going to be. Okay, on my side, right? It's not complete yet. Okay, that tightening piece happens at the very end, and by the time it's put on, it's tight, so it's hard to adjust it. Okay, that's the magic that's going on here. Okay, now believe it or not, you're going to think that this cheat is ridiculously silly and it's impossible, but let me tell you, it works even at high level. Okay. All right. So, like I said, you want all straps towards you. Okay. That's all my straps, and that's all his straps as well. I want all his straps towards me. If I could pick to have his strap move up, I would. If I could pick to have this angle be from here to here, I would definitely do that. Okay. And that's what I can affect on this side. So right away when the strap is going on, okay, what I can do is when I'm kind of messing around here, is I can push up on his strap. Okay? You think that he'd notice that, but trust me, people do not notice it. Okay? They really don't. They think you're hooking them. They're thinking about something else. Guys who are great, you know, there's so many ways to be good at a sport. Okay? You can be strong. You can be smart. You can be charismatic and a politician. You know, like you watch Travis arm wrestle. I learned a lot from pulling Travis. He's a great technician, especially at the start. Travis doesn't stop talking. He doesn't stop talking from the time he gets called up to the time they say go. He's working like crazy. He's working the referee. He's putting pressure on that guy. You know, he's putting pressure on this guy. He's putting pressure on the audience. You know, he's trying to ramp everything up so that he stops seeing things. So he stops seeing things. So they get blind and things start happening and he's in control of the situation, right? So you can do that same thing, right? When you're doing these cheats, you know, you have to detract people's attention, right? It's almost like magic, right? You need to be talking to the referee, talking to this guy, and you're working your cheat, you know, so that he's thinking something else is going on, and that's actually what's going on, okay? Yeah. And you should pull in the strap constantly. Like in practice, you get to the table and pull in the strap. Get comfortable, because once it's like the default setting. The default setting in arm wrestling is referee's grip. You can always get a referee's grip. Just face it. Like, that's a part of arm wrestling that you can get to. You can force it. You can also force the strap. I feel that the majority, if you want to be really a hardcore great arm wrestler, be prepared to pull in the strap in a referee's grip every single time you arm wrestle. You know, because the other guy can do it to you, and if he can do it to you, then well, that's the game. You know, that's an end state, and you can work that piece too. So I'd say if you want mastery over any piece, it'd be straps, referee's grip. So. Yeah. Why don't we do, you guys want to pull again for a bit?
Anything else you can do in the referee's grip?
In the referee's grip?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, referee's grip is a total nightmare. I gotta say that the referee's grip is something that the sport needs to look at. I think it's a mess. I think it's a nightmare. I think it's high stakes. All I think it does is it adds pressure on the entire situation. Because I'll tell you, with all my years of arm wrestling, people don't start fair. They don't do it. And in the referee's grip, there is movement, there is pressure, okay? And what it does is it's not achieving its aims, right? The referees are being told that if there's movement, that they have to call a foul, right? And at the same time, arm wrestlers are under the pressure to win, and the referee is under the pressure to start the matches. And there's the paradox right there, you know? So, in my opinion, what really needs to happen is there needs to be an adjustment piece to the referee's grip itself. But just know that you can still cheat in a referee's grip, and this guy's under a lot of pressure to start the match. Okay, there's things that you can do with your thumb. When you in the referee's grip, when they say close the thumb, where you close the thumb can have massive influence on what the other guy can do. Like if we're doing a referee's grip, okay, when they say close the thumb, okay, if I know the guy is a hooker, I can close my thumb like this, you know, and I technically did close my thumb, you know what I mean? Like I can close it wide, okay. If I know the guy is a post guy, I can close my thumb like this, okay. So there's adjustments that you can do with the thumb, right? If I know he's a top roller, and they say close your thumb, me closing it like this, right? You know, it changes things, you know. I think that the referee's grip is, it's just really more high stakes, you know. We can work with it, another thing that you have to know is timing of a referee's grip. Just know that as soon as the hands are closed, that referee is calling go. So a lot of things is people do the referee's grip and they feel like they weren't ready. But that's getting closed, ready, go, you know? And you have to know, it's almost like it's your don't move, you know? As soon as that hand gets closed, it's coming. So guys start their cheat process right there, heavily, right? So, right, they're together, like close the one thumb, close the other, close the hand, and then as soon as that hand is closed, guys are basically starting their process. Yeah. Anyways, let's pull for a bit and we'll shake it out again. And I encourage you to pull in the strap. I think I might have an extra inch and a half one here. You guys want to try it?
Going 5 minutes?
Yeah, man, that's fine.
Generally, a guy with a shorter arm can generally negotiate a tighter top angle, okay, which is very important. You see great outside pullers with short arms, like Don Underwood, Gary Goodrich, Mike Gould. These guys are all small hands, short forearms, and their base style is outside, okay? So what is really important to these guys is they need to have really strong hammer style strength, okay? They need to, like with a dumbbell or with the rising strength, they need to be able to really be strong coming this way with a straight flat hand and a high angle, okay? And they're gonna be great at turning things over really fast, okay? And they're gonna have an advantage over a guy with a long arm in that particular style.
Okay, the other thing that
put the hand as forward as they
as
can.
forward as possible.
So
Yeah.
the other guy will be at the
Yeah, he can-
disadvantage of
Right.
angle.
Yeah. Okay. Another great thing
Yeah,
about
I-
having a short arm is that when you drag on the pad, it has a big influence on what's going on in the mesh. Like say we're both here. Okay. If I drag my elbow right to the back of the pad, okay, all right, it doesn't change a lot. You know, it doesn't change a lot. It changes a bit, but if he does the same thing, if he drags it back, it's actually more movement just because of the size of this here. Like if it was even shorter, then I would be moving the exact distance. You know what I mean? So your drags become more powerful. So your surges offensively can be, you know, they can really happen. Then there's advantages that the long arm has as well, but I would say those are the two big ones for having a short arm.
What about the reverse, the long arm versus the advantage?
Yeah, well,
just
the
the
long
shoulder
arm,
over the top.
I mean, you can follow much better. So, for example, so I can run him out of pad. Okay, so for example, so we go ahead and do your surge to the back, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna follow. Okay, and he is gonna right. So when it actually comes to straight up like left and right kind of stuff, the longer arm will have more torque. Okay. Right, so once he runs out of pad, okay, which I can make him do by just following him, he's gonna have to and that's where he's gonna run into trouble. That's the longer arm. Also,
You can't go anywhere from here, he's almost done.
right, he'll run and I still have distance, right? Because and this is kind of a different one, but generally a longer arm normally has a bigger hand at the end of it. And there's a lot of things that a bigger hand can do that a smaller hand can't. I feel like, you know, it's a bigger wheel to get around. You can reach farther. Now, I didn't mention that a smaller hand, you know, you can end up top rolling the thumb alone, which is a pretty awesome move. If, you know, not too many people figure it out, but some guys with really small hands learn how to top roll only the thumb, and they don't even cup. They just squeeze and hold on, and they drag the thumb out.
So they are the
Not a lot of people do it. So, like for example, if I were to top roll and he could just squeeze and then just keep his rotation real tight, yeah. And what's gonna happen is we're gonna be arm wrestling, and I'm gonna feel like I can go, but it's my thumb that's left behind.
He's squeezing.
Great top rollers. I don't feel that what you have limits the style that you can do. I think that it's a bad way to think about it.
Just practice whenever
Yeah, practice them all. Practice them all.
Is that where I am?
Yeah.
Where am I? You're on my side.
Your side.
Center.
I think it has I think that there's different genetic factors that play in. I think that some people,
Not center.
just
No.
regardless of
Because I can see
their
the center
size or
thing. Yeah, I can
whatever,
see the center thing
are
too, but you're
more
never gonna see it from
prone
there,
to
right?
do different things. You know, like some people just genetically have it. For me, what I've seen all the time is so many people, the ability to press or the ability to flop wrist press, I think is very much a genetic thing. Like, there's so many people that I feel arm wrestle and I'm like, your press doesn't feel healthy. Don't press. Just forget all about it. Do not do it for a while. And flop wrist pressing, some people it's like, no, you're absolutely going to break your arm. You can feel it. And then some people it's like, you should only press. You should only press and you should only flop. You know. But I think it's almost a genetic thing where your connective tissues fit together, and there is variation. You know, there's going to be slight variation in people.
With that flop wrist press,
Yeah.
we haven't got anyone in Australia that does it.
Yeah.
Can you just demonstrate it? Just
Sure.
yeah.
There's a bunch of guys who do it. It's rare. Okay. Floppers,
Jerry
you know.
Cadorette does that.
What's that?
Jerry Cadorette is the main guy who does it in the international level.
Yeah, he's the main. I would say Jerry is the best flop wrist presser that there is. So okay, so
Lars did it last year, and he's got some power behind him. He just let it all go. I
yeah.
think he was so close, wasn't he? I was sitting next to you, and it was just
Oh, it's a
about
great
all
move.
the way.
And flop wrist press is a great move, especially if you build up, you know, your techniques around it. You know, great move, fabulous move. Jerry Cadorette is one of my favorite arm wrestlers. He's a great arm wrestler. So one of the things with the flop, when you set it up, is for most moves you want to be over top. Okay.
with a flop, there's not a lot of advantages to be high. It's like you almost want to be underneath the person, right? So if I'm all up here, you know, it's not as good. Like I almost want to be under, okay? With the flop, it's best if the guy is top rolling. Again, you want to crowd that table, right? You want to crowd the table. One of the things about all these soft counter styles, right? Whether it's defensive hooking, whether it's flop wrist pressing, there's a process that you kind of have to go through. I pulled Taras Ivankin in 2005, I think, and I ended up losing, but I ended up flopping him twice for a victory. And I learned something really important in that match. I ended up winning the first two, and then I lost the last four. And I think that I know why. Who knows? Maybe I'm just in my head, but I think I know why I lost. And that's because I felt like I figured him out, and I felt like I was going there too quickly. Like I felt like his hand was so dominant over mine at the time. Like the total sum of his hand versus mine, he was so strong. Like I had everything in the setup. Like he was like here, and I was like, oh, this is great. I had like height, I had everything perfect, and it just didn't matter. It did not matter. It was just, he was going. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And the reason why I kind of won the first match was because I went through a process of retreat. Okay, so I initially hit with my post, switched to my top roll, you know, and it's not going, and then I fell behind with my flop, okay, for my soft counter. And I managed to get my stop, and then, you know, adjust and get the win. And then the second time, I still didn't really believe that it happened like that, you know, so I kind of went through that same process again, you know, try the top, you know. And then by the third time, I was like, oh my God, there's no way that I'm going to beat this guy, you know. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm setting up with a flop wrist press, you know, I'm setting up to enter it right away. But the problem is, as soon as you do that, then he can much more easily nail down his counter for specifically that move, and doesn't have to go through the, okay, I stopped his post, now his top, now. And then by the time the press comes in, then it's like you've expended a lot of his technique already. So what I learned is even when you know that you're overwhelmed in an area, it's important to even just have a small deposit there, you know, just so it forces your opponent to go through the process of defeating you, you know. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you're setting up for your flop wrist press or any other move, it's still not unlike the full process, because it's a way of entry into that pressure, right? And if you show that you're going there too much, like even Jerry, like you watch him, like he's setting up like he's posting, you know, and it's a process of him going in. And even once he's in, you know, he's trying to post out of it to return to center so he has more retreat room, right? Because it's a retreat. You're giving things up to enter it, right? And if you've already given them up, if there's nothing there, then he's able to right away just do the counter. So when I'm thinking about flopping, yes, I'm heavily in there, but there's still something here, you know what I mean? Like, so I can enter it like that, as opposed to just, you know, this is eventually where the pressure will be, but if I show you this, it's much easier for you to counter, right? Yeah. But if I give you at least something there, don't move, ready, go, you know. And really, I'm pushing.
And your elbow just creeps forward.
I'm coming
with
the best guys, okay? The best pressers are coming right at you. Like they're coming right at you. I'm not a great flopper, okay? I train with a really good one. And I can kind of do it a bit, but they're coming right at you. Like they're coming right, like it's not to the side. Like, go ahead. Like I'm coming right at you. Yeah, go ahead. Like I'm pushing forward, you know. A lot of times you end up being too defensive with it, and there's a difference between being defensive with the flop and offensive. Normally you see a lot of guys go ahead and top roll me, okay, and they fall behind it, you know, something like this, okay.
And this is real ugly.
Yeah,
Okay?
it looks ugly.
Yeah, it's real ugly. But
See?
it does work. Okay, you can get stops there, but I would never tell guys to practice it. I think it can be real damaging and lead to all sorts of unhappiness.
When I press,
Yeah.
off the rest, I'm looking to cut in there
Yeah.
and just like that.
Yeah. Now that's a real press,
Yeah.
right? That's not a
So that's a
flop.
straight up press, but I can't flop the wrist.
Yeah.
It just feels like you get in that position and it just feels ugly.
It's better in the strap. It's a lot better in the strap. You can not really do a lot of these extreme moves without a strap.
Some guys even, this is there is a
Brendan.
point here. Even plus
Yeah.
this is and then you go down. Like there is a pressure point, right? Yeah, that one. Just so you have seen guys do that, like
You've seen that before?
So the first part of it in the strap is that connection, right? Remember how we talked about you don't need, right? Yeah. So I'm always kind of connecting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of cup there, right? But I'm still connecting.
Not
Right?
wet kneeling down.
You know, it's the push.
Straight away.
that's what last was doing.
And it's much better if I can always try and bring it back. So it works better in, conjunction with other pieces, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna help me.
Yeah. Yeah. You go.
Oh, you took his first, thought yours, Andrew.
Yours to get way down and on the shoulder.
There's a gap!
So what you want to think about doing now, what you want to think about doing is you want to think about connecting, right? Like, so,
Connecting through.
no, you want to, like, okay, so you're here and you're pushing, but what you want to do is you want to start working just a bit back so you can go back in, right? Because it's that process of returning to center so that you can retreat again, right? So the press is your retreat. Yeah, so give up your wrist if it's getting taken. Yeah, there you go. Right, now you're strong. Right. And now, the return to center is you coming back up and trying to top roll. Good, and now come right, but don't make it quite so big. So now you can drop on it again. Return your elbow back to your body. Because remember, in the flop, you don't need your wrist. You don't need your wrist, right? You can just connect.
I have seen some guys pushing your the hand like this, and then applying pressure here, like
Just something we kind of play with. But yeah, I think that I think even in the system that we have right now, I think that this is restrictive for, people under a certain wingspan. So, I mean, I understand that it was put there for safety, but my belief on break arms is break arms can happen anywhere. Like, you can be in good position, you can break your arm. They more likely happen when you're in a bad position, but break arms happen. And I'm not convinced that having this here is saving anybody's arm. I'm just not convinced by it, but I am pretty convinced that it is limiting the technical sphere of some people. So, yeah. But whatever, I mean, this is what we're working with right now, so.
Cool.
Yeah. That's why, like, when I pull, like, I don't hold the peg like this. I'll generally go like this, because sometimes, so long as you're in contact with the peg, you can move away from it better.
Oh, so you have to have
You just
one arm contact the
Just
peg?
contact.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is technically contact,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have to.
Yeah. Okay.
Just wanna thank Devon. Give him a round of applause. Thanks.
Hey. Thanks again for having me. Love to come here. You guys are in a great spot. I had an interview earlier, but I'll tell it to all you guys. I see a whole bunch of junior pullers. I mean, not everybody's junior puller, but you got some great leadership, and you got a bunch of junior guys, and you guys are going nowhere but up. Just keep doing what you're doing. The biggest thing, guys, is you got to take care of each other. That's the biggest thing when it comes to sport.
Vic guys are pretty good.
Yeah.
Everyone looks after each other.
Yeah.
We're,
Like you guys are a
we're
team.
pretty tight here in Vic.
It's an individual sport, but the only way you get good at arm wrestling
Everyone roots for each other.
Yeah.
The big guys stand out.
Yeah.
I know. We made more noise than anyone else at nationals because everyone was supporting. If you're Victorian, wasn't it true, Jess? There was like 15 of us there. There was 15 of us there, but we made more noise than New South Wales guys put together. It was
In Sydney.
Talk to each other. Be honest with each other. You know, tell each other.
everyone works on everyone's weaknesses and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and we'll keep getting better. Everyone will keep getting better.
Yeah.
Now, if anyone wants any shots or photos and stuff, I know we want to do a House of Pain one.
And if you guys ever come to Canada, please come and crash with me. I got a guest room, and I love to pay back for all the hospitality I always get. So come if you're ever in Canada, come crash at my place. You know, we put together training sessions all the time. You guys are more than welcome if you ever come through Canada. So please.
I think there's about 30 of us going to Vegas, so
Yeah, awesome.
we're just dropping by.
Seriously, I love it. If you just got to make sure I'm home, because you know Jody's getting good. She doesn't mind guys coming over when I'm gone. I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah. So just lastly, round of applause. Anyone wants photos and stuff, we really appreciate it, mate. Photo booth over in the corner. House of Pain, boys.